There's a really easy way to receive your dream life, but it's not the way you think. I know for most women, and even some men, you've been conditioned, but today I'm speaking specifically to women. You've been conditioned to think that you have to do more, you have to effort more, you have to try harder to get what you want in life. And I want to disrupt that thought. It's not true. Of course, we have to show up in our lives, but if you are in a constant cycle, like a little rat on a wheel, then there's a really good chance that you are dismissing the signals from your body and the signs from your intuition. And it's not because you want to, right? It's just that when you're going so fast and you're doing so much, it's easy to feel depleted and to feel run down and to just kind of be in survival mode of like, okay, let me just get to the next thing. So I want to unpack this today because it's something I see in so many clients, and there's an easier way to do life and there's an easier way to receive what you want, but it really means learning a new way of being. So if you're new to me, my name is Donnell Davis, and I am a channel, a healer, and an oracle who've been doing this work for 25 years. And I really specialize in helping my clients access their future self so they can embody that in the now moment. But sometimes it's even deeper than that. It's really being able to access that infinite internal part of you that can create worlds. So, but today we won't even try and create a world. We're just going to talk about something very much that will help you. So, I want to describe what it looks like. It's the woman who's trying to juggle multiple things in her life. Maybe she's got kids and she has a full job or business and she's trying to eat healthy and go to the gym. And then she has a partner and she's trying to show up for a partner and friends and community and all the things. And women are doing more now than we've ever been doing. And there's this feeling of like, I got to keep up. I got to do all these, I got to show up for everybody. Women have hardwired into us this nurturing, especially in our younger years before menopause. There's very much the way your hormones are wired are to keep you in that mothering, nurturing type of energy of like, I need to caretake other people. Now, if you're like me, where I went through early menopause at 47, you go through a metamorphosis where you're like, wait a second, what am I doing? I don't want to take care of everybody else. I need to take care of me. So I'm speaking to you from that lens, but I'm speaking to the younger women because I used to be that person who is trying to do everything. I was somebody who saw my body as a machine. I saw my body as something that was going to get me from point A to point B, which meant I was working long days, which meant I wasn't eating that healthy. Sometimes I'd work out. And I'm talking about like my early 30s, even in my 20s. But I was very good at working hard. I was very good at like trying to keep up with everything, a social life. I wasn't sleeping as much. I just had a lot going on, as I'm sure a lot of 20s and 30-year-olds do too, although I know times are changing. But that kind of lifestyle, right? Where we're just pushing our body and we're almost seeing it in a robotic way, in a very mechanical way, is really fascinating because it means that we're cut off in some ways from the wisdom of our body. And a lot of the women I see that are actually trying to, be healthy and, work out and do all the things, sometimes even working out can be stressful because it's just adding one more thing on top of all the list of things that you're already doing. And you may see productivity and busyness as a badge of honor because it highlights your achievements, it highlights your ability to get things done. But it's most likely a trauma response. I know, I know. And it's also trying to be with like the collective flow, like what society is trying to dictate to us. And hopefully this is changing. But what I mean by it being a coping mechanism and a pattern is that a lot of us have a love story, especially being the eldest, where in order to receive love, you felt like, okay, I got to behave this way, I got to show up in these ways, depending on what was going on. And it doesn't even have to be like major trauma, but it just can be like, okay, I seem to get more approval when I'm doing what's right. And so we take on this kind of energy of like, I will show up, I'll do this, I'll make these things happen. And then you get the good grades, and then you get the atta girl, and then you know, are behaving, you get more atta girls. And so you kind of start to format yourself into this way of being where achieving equals self-worth. Making money can equal self-worth. Having a busy schedule equals self-worth. And I cannot tell you how many women I've spoken to, and it kind of creeps me out when they're like, I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if I wasn't busy. And it's like, whoa, ooh, that's a red flag, sister. You don't know? Like, how about sit on your couch and dream about like just, stare off in space and have a cup of tea and just relax, right? But that's a foreign thing to somebody that is in go mode. My sister is a great example of this, and I know she wouldn't mind me sharing this, but my sister always tells me, she's like, when I have nothing to do, I feel so much anxiety. And I was like, that's a real issue, because what she's literally describing is an anxious attachment, right? She said she needs to keep moving and doing things. And so anxious attachment is always like, I got to fix something. I got to be out. It's like, it's very much like modeling after the parent that you didn't know what you were going to receive from them. And so you're like, if I do this, if I show up in this way, it's like you're moving. And whether it's the atta girl, whether it's chasing achievement, whether it's the fact that you wouldn't know what to do with yourself if you didn't have something going on, it doesn't matter where it's stemming from. I'm just giving you different examples. It's the fact that this is an epidemic in our society, because women are meant to tune into their bodies and slow down. And if you've designed a life where if you get to the point where you finally get to rest and you don't know what to do with yourself and you feel anxious or guilty, this is a sign. This is an indication that this is an area for you to work on. This is an area for you to be like, well, why do I have so much resistance? What is it in me? What does it mean for me to rest? Does it mean that like I'm not as productive, that things won't happen for me in my life if I don't keep moving? And I really want you to sit with that thought, because it's not true. So much of this game of life that we're working on, at least in my corner of spirituality and healing, is working on your consciousness, shifting how you feel internally so that your external, excuse me, I just hiccup, so your external world can bring you new experiences so your external world can change. And I want to say that if you're living on the sixth floor right now and you don't really have much of a view, but you work on your consciousness, then you're going to go up to the eighth or ninth floor, depending on how much you sit with yourself and your feelings. And there's a whole thing with that. But your consciousness is your spirit. It's your connection to the divine. It's your ability to manage and respond to life. And if you're in constant reactivity and you're just living accordingly to manage the discomfort of your life, then you're not truly living your richest experience. Because no matter what, I'm sure you've lived long enough to know like there's something's always going to happen. There's always going to be challenges. And so it's not about avoiding those. And so there's that avoidant attachment, avoiding the things and just kind of disconnecting or disassociating. But it's also not being anxious and doing more when things aren't working out for you. I find that a lot. Like women are like, oh, if I do more, if I do more. So, what I want you to think about, deep breath, because I'm just kind of channeling and going. And of course, my daughter's like texting me about a bunch of things right now at her tennis match. What I want you to think about right now is, what would it feel like just to start to slow down? What does that even mean to you? Like, I want to hear it in the comments. Like, what does it mean to you to slow down? What would it look like to find a little crevice of time, some part of your day that you can spend in meditation or prayer or in quiet or in solitude or in journaling, or on a walk, whatever it is for you. And I'll tell you why it's so important, because you need to be able to hear your own voice. You need to be able to hear your own truth. Healing is about coming home to yourself. And it's the you past the conditioning and the programming. It's the you that is eternal and infinite. And yes, I love working with the future self because we want to work on the next identity that we want to step into, because that identity can help you access a specific timeline. And that timeline has different things happening in the material world on it, right? But what I want you to think about is there is this part of you, the eternal part, the higher self part, that wants to get your attention and wants to speak to you. So it's going to speak to you through your symptoms of your body and through anxiety, emotion, like emotional symptoms, mental. So that would be like rumination. There's all these different ways it's trying to get your attention. And if you're going so fast, you're going to just be like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'm just going to go over here and drink a glass of wine and just, I'm going to forget about that. Or, oh, I'm going to, just go distract myself. My favorite when I was younger was, oh, I'm just going to go out to dinner with my friends and have a glass of wine. I'm going to go distract myself and just talk and hear what their problems are. And then I don't have to think about my problems. Before I ever did this work, I was the friend that everybody would want to hang out with because I'd listen so intently, like, oh, what's going on? And I'd be so, because of course I wanted to help them, but what they didn't realize is this was such a distraction from my own shit. And when I gave up drinking 2 years, it's been over 2 years, it allowed me to see how much I was distracting myself and numbing from my ability to sit with what's going on. And it's been a whole arc. And I've gotten to know myself in such a deeper way, even though I've been on this journey of spirituality for 25 years. And I started to hear my voice. I'm starting to I notice like the pings and the different things I'm getting throughout the day. I spend time in quiet and solitude for a certain part of the day so I can hear myself. There's no perfect formula to this, by the way. This isn't like you overachievers out there. I know you're like, well, how much time do I spend? And oh, do I meditate in the morning, in the night? No, it's like, no. This is about finding a rhythm where you can start to hear yourself and you can start to process what has been in the backlog. Everybody, if you've been living a busy life and if you've been distracting and numbing for some time, you have a backlog, trust me. And when you finally go to sit down, it might be really uncomfortable for the first 3 to 6 months, let's just say, because you're going to be moving through the backlog. You're going to be like, oh my God, there's so much material. Why do I feel sad? I don't even know why I feel sad. Nothing happened to me today. It's like, oh, well, you're processing stuff that like you hadn't processed for a while. So the reason you need to process too, and the reason why you might feel a lot is because it's almost like you're opening a valve that's been turned off. That's just been like, think of a sink and it's like the valve, just like a little drop is coming out every now and then. But what you want to really experience is more flow, right? You want to turn it on more. You want the water to be, you want your consciousness, your energy to be always moving in it and flow. But if you're resisting the difficulties of life, or you're so busy that you're one thing to the next, it's like you're not able to process and have the bandwidth necessarily for the extra, the more that wants to come through and really kind of redirect your life. You'll be kind of staying here when it's like you could go into the vastness of who you are. And so the invitation is to really get clear on first the story of like, why am I choosing to be this busy? Why am I doing this? Like maybe it's a functionality of survival for you. Maybe you have to work 8 hours a day and then go home and take care of your kid and do all these things, but can you find some time in there? I'm not saying that everybody has this luxury, right? But can you find some time in there just to like get up a little bit earlier, 10 minutes earlier, and be with yourself in the morning? Or instead of watching TV at the end of the night, like take a few nights and just be like, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to read or I'm going to journal. So start looking at the story you have around your busyness and the life that you're living. And if you're, using substances or certain things to kind of keep you afloat, that's also something to really be aware of. And then ask yourself, what would it take to be with myself a little bit more and carve out that time? And then let yourself start to hear and be with the messages of your soul. Because trust me, when I say this, life gets so rich when we slow down a bit. And for the feminine, to receive more, right? If you want to receive the life that you've been always dreaming of, that means that you have to have capacity. And it doesn't mean that you always have to be calm. Like they talk about nervous system regulation, and nervous system regulation meaning like, okay, I'm so regulated, so now I can like handle. No, regulated means that you're aware that you're holding a big charge or that you're moving through something and you let yourself finish the arc, right? Like if you think nervous system regulation is like, oh, I'm angry and then I'm going to like calm it down so that I can receive more. No, feel your freaking anger, move through it. That's you being this embodied vessel being where you're letting things move through you. And then you're not blocking or restricting or suppressing anything. So regulation, like regulated, doesn't mean calm. It means that you know how to move with the charge. Like you can handle the arousal, you can handle like the ups and downs of the energy, like the emotions, the energy, the feeling, the charge, and you don't lose yourself. You don't get so emotionally flooded. You don't leave the body for 3 days and then come back and be like, oh my God, I was exhausted. I like numbed out. I was like sleeping for 3 days. I was depressed, whatever. No judgment, by the way, no judgment on any of this. So I'm just speaking straight truth because I don't, I want to cut through the noise. Like there's so much noise online about like, oh, do this. And you do need a regulated nervous system to hold more capacity. But I think people have gotten confused what a regulated nervous system actually means. And they're thinking it, oh, I always have to be like so calm and all this stuff. It's like, no, that's not real life. Not, it's like there's days you won't feel an extra charge, but like if you're living like in a house with like I am, like with four other people and two dogs and I have all these friends and clients and then it's like there's a lot that's like moving through me and that I'm processing and dealing with. Because when we play a big game, like we're not just like in a corner in our rooms hiding and nobody's going to get to us. Like we have to feel and move through. So you're building the capacity to feel safety within yourself. Safety meaning you can hold the bigger emotions and get through it, get through the arc, and then come back to yourself, right? That's what I'm talking about. And that's the kind of capacity where you can hold. And I was just telling my husband this. I'm going to be real, real about this one because, oh my gosh, I was telling my husband, I'm like, oh, I just made, I'm an entrepreneur. So sometimes I make money in big chunks. And I just made some money. And then I was finding myself paying all my bills and then I was like, I found myself getting anxious. And I was like, oh, I feel anxious because, it's always like the game of like, will I make the same amount of money or more? And I'm, doing all these things, investing and I could feel my anxiety. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Sometimes people have anxiety because they're not making money. Sometimes people have anxiety because they are making money. And they're like, am I going to continue to make this much money? It's like, it's a freaking game. But I had to notice it and identify it and be like, okay, what does my body need right now? It needs rest. It needs like me to kind of calm my inner child. I need to talk to my husband about this. And then I was able to calm down and move through it, but not suppress it, not ignore it. And that's the thing is the feminine way to receive is not about being some zen like monk. It's like the feminine is like the ocean. There's like big stuff happening, emotions, all these things, but it's learning how to find the center and stay in safety to receive more. And so it could be so much easier. But to wrap this full circle, if you're going a million miles an hour, you don't even know what you're saying. Like you're just and I feel so bad saying it so like just blatant, but I can speak to it because I've lived that life. Like I was in sales and I was traveling all over, driving all day long on the phone, talking to people. Then I come home and be around more people. And I was just like, do, go, 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 do, and all this stuff. And it was just like so much of my world was based externally. And it was like, if somebody would have asked me what my relationship with myself, I would have been like, well, I mean, I think it's good. Like I like my life. And I was connected to myself, but I wasn't my own best friend. I wasn't spending a lot of time really inhabiting the internal space of who I am and really revering it and getting to know myself and love myself. and understand the deeper messages that my soul was trying to share. So if this resonates, I'd love to hear if you would like to go deeper. I have many different containers that you can inquire about and message me about. And if you want to do a session, we can do a session and we can kind of kickstart your relationship with you, understanding astrologically, we are wrapping up the Uranus cycle that was in Taurus, which is all about self-worth. It has to do with money too. We're finishing that up. We're starting a new cycle, and it's going to move into a different house for everybody. It's moving into Gemini. And so it's like looking at your chart and seeing where that is. But there's the energy right now and the way things are shifting, everything's moving fast and quick. So if you're in a space right now where you can feel the tipping point, where you can feel like, oh, my life is shifting, I don't know exactly where it's going, and I don't know how to stay attuned to it, and I don't know how to like really hold that, that would be an incredible time for you to get a one-on-one session with me. They are a little bit more of an investment. They are $500. Sometimes I have specials where they're $397, but typically they're $500 because we're going to go really deep into the field of who you are, and we're going to really speak to your soul, and we're going to figure out what are the patterns that are unconsciously running your life right now, and how is it that you can slow down and start to create a life where that timeline that you've been envisioning gets to drop in. And that only happens when you're masterful with your time and your energy and how you're responding to life. So if you want support, if you want to kind of dive into that and get some beautiful channeled messages and energetic healing, that is what I do with my clients to begin with. And then I lead them through the actual sustainable transformation process. So anyways, I hope you have a beautiful day. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.